Hello, hello, and much love to you. You have tuned into another episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, and I am so glad that you decided to join us on another episode today. I have been doing my best to maintain balance in my everyday life so that I can live optimally. Considering that this is the only life that I have in this space, in this moment on this earth, today we're going to talk about a topic that affects us all. I know I have definitely been affected by this topic several times in my life. When dealing with this topic, there are 3 million U.S. cases per year, equaling in 3.8% of the U.S. population. A year after the start of the pandemic, we have come up to 14.8 million U.S. cases of adults ages 18 and older, equaling to 6.8% of the U.S. population. Now, these numbers were collected by the National Institute of Mental Health, and these were reported cases, meaning people that went to go seek help. So just imagine those who did not, sought treatment. So today we're going to discuss the topic of depression. Now, I must say, in doing the research, this is a very complicated and dense topic. However, it is definitely worth delving into to discover the different areas and facets of depression that we experience on a regular, everyday basis, the different levels of depression, and things that we can do to work through, if not gain major control over this mental disorder. This information will be very helpful for you currently and moving on to make sure that you have some tools mentally, spiritually, and physically to work through this common mental difficulty. So sit back, relax, and let's get into this episode. Before we get into this episode, let me say that I am not a licensed mental health professional nor doctor, although I will host licensed professionals as guests from time to time. The mental health difficulties discussed on this podcast will come from extensive research, life experiences of myself and others, and are not to be taken as diagnosis, prescription, or cure to any health mental difficulties or disorders. If you are experiencing deep mental health difficulties of any kind and have lasted for any duration of time, please contact your local mental health professional for assistance with treatment. If you or someone you know is suffering with mental distress or thoughts of suicide, you are not alone. Please call the toll-free National Suicide Prevention Hotline, open 24/7 at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that is 1-800-273-8255. Now let's get into the episode. Depression is identified as a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. Otherwise, depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Causes for this depression can be a combination of biological, psychological, and social sources of distress. We are back at it again, y'all, on the 5th episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth. Can you believe it's been 5 episodes already? I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, continuing to show love. It means the world to me. You have no idea. Doing this podcast helps me to work through some of my mental health difficulties and show up for myself better every day and help me to use what I'm working through to help the collective. The topic of depression that we're talking about today is a major topic. I have been affected by depression on and off all throughout my life. And a lot of times I didn't know that I was going through depression until it lasted for a certain amount of time and I was no longer my regular everyday self. I started to notice some of those changes and then looked into it. But a lot of us, especially since the pandemic, since 2020, have had various bouts with depression, whether you know it or not. There's been so many new things that we have had to adapt to in such a quick amount of time that even the most upbeat, optimistic person has been having issues with just coping with everyday life and adjustments, whether it's been how you will function at work or whether you still have employment, how your children will be educated, and what that looks like for you and your family on a regular basis, what you do and do not believe so far as health standards and practices, and just stepping your game up, paying extra close attention to your overall health, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So it's totally understandable to say that a lot of us have gone through depression. This episode is going to help us break down the different variations of depression and how they affect our everyday lives. And then, of course, you know, your girl is going to give you some solutions that you guys can work through, some solutions that will help you gain and maintain balance for better living. Depression is something that affects our everyday lives so far as our moods and behaviors, our different daily patterns, and it can be subtle or it can be very drastic. So you have to pay attention to some of these to make sure that you are understanding how you fare on the side of these different variations of depression. So let's go into the different levels of depression and how they affect our everyday lives. Depression can affect our moods so far as anxiety, apathy, general discontent, guilt, hopelessness, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, mood swings, and sadness. When dealing with behavior, it can affect us in the form of aggravated agitation, excessive crying, irritability, restlessness, and isolation. It can also affect our physical functions, so far as sleep, weight, fatigue, loss of appetite, lethargy, weight loss or weight gain, insomnia, to name just a few. So, clinically, we can say any sadness or low feelings of despair lasting more than 2 weeks and affect your ability to function on a regular basis is considered as depression. So, in doing this research, there are several levels of depression, and please believe this topic alone is very dense. So, I'm going to give you these levels as simple as I can so that you would be able to digest them and identify some of the areas in which you may see some of these behaviors within your own life or those around you so that you can pinpoint and focus on starting to do the work. We all feel sad and down from time to time. There's nothing wrong with having these feelings. There always is a yin to every yang, a up to every down. You're definitely going to feel sad sometimes, but when it lasts over a certain amount of time is when you should be concerned. So let's talk about major depression. Major depression can last weeks or even months, and it's more of a consistent worry, anxiety, thought about death or self harm or suicide. And this is one of the depression levels that you should seek professional help. Persistent depression is the same as major depression or clinical depression, however, it lasts for 2 years or more. Manic depression, also known as bipolar depression, is an ongoing up and down of high energy, low energy, and racing thoughts and speech. At times, you can think very grandiosely, which increases your self esteem and confidence, and be overly optimistic. Because of this, you tend to have unusually risky or self destructive behavior. Very low ebbs and flows of depression happen before a manic episode or after. So it's the feeling of being very, very low, then extremely high, and then after the manic episode, very, very low again, which causes a roller coaster in your behavior. Depressive psychosis is depression that is involving hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. With this level of depression, you have issues with sitting still, or you may experience having slow physical movement on a regular basis. Another level of depression is prenatal depression, also known as postpartum. This occurs during pregnancy within the first 4 weeks of childbirth. You experience anger, rage, exhaustion, amongst so many other feelings of discomfort and worthlessness. 1 out of 10 men experience this level of prenatal depression also. Usually, this is due to being overwhelmed of this new life change, of your body being stressed from just delivering your baby, and feelings of inadequacy, not sure if you'll be able to take care of your child and yourself. Due to this, you have high ranges of emotions, swinging from high to low. Another level of depression is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD, which is severe PMS. While PMS is both physical and psychological, PMDD is mostly psychological, and the symptoms change from day to day, before menstruation, during menstruation, and after. A lot of these effects are physical, such as bloating, cramping, breast tenderness, headaches, joint muscle pain, mood swings, food craving, amongst others. One level of depression that is very common that I've suffered from also is seasonal depression, or SAD. This level of depression usually happens during the winter months, starting in fall, and gets worse as the winter goes on. Once spring comes around, your mood normally tends to improve and return back to regular. Seasonal depression is also related to a form of situational depression. Situational depression is also related to major depression, but it is brought on by certain situations. These situations can include a death of a loved one when you're grieving, illness or life threatening event, divorce or child custody issues, emotional and physical abuse in relationships, unemployment or major financial difficulties, facing extensive legal troubles, as well as any other thing that you experience major trauma or shock from. The depression normally sets in 3 months after the event. So this was very interesting when I looked into this because it helped me to understand how people grieve. We definitely will talk about in one of the episodes the levels of grieving. However, a lot of times when people pass away or major things happen, the person is not affected directly immediately. It seems as though it takes quite some time before the person is able to digest what actually happened or what has happened, so then they can start the process of processing. During this process, they normally experience depression. Another level of depression is atypical depression. This depression is standard depression, but goes away when a positive event happens. So, just say, for instance, you have been going through depression for quite some time. A baby is born, or something great happens in your life. Now, this temporary phase can last for a couple of days or about a month, depending on the severity of the positive event that happened. But normally, after the chemical levels of the excitement level out, you normally return back to depression if you are suffering from clinical depression. So let me repeat these levels of depression again. We talked about 9. There are other levels of depression, but for the sake of the length of this podcast, I wanted to make it something that you would be able to digest and understand. I definitely encourage you to do more research on these different levels of depression if you feel that you or anyone that you know is suffering from this and may need treatment. We briefly talked about major depression, persistent depression, manic depression or bipolar disorder depression, depressive psychosis, prenatal depression, premenstrual dysphoric depression or PMDD related to PMS, seasonal depression or SAD, situational depression, and atypical depression. This episode was brought to you by BetterHelp. Counseling by online chat, video, or phone available anytime, anywhere. Get started today with 100% private counseling anytime, anywhere. BetterHelp's mission is to make professional therapy accessible, affordable, and convenient, so anyone that struggles with life challenges can get help anytime, anywhere. Go on to betterhelp.com and sign up for your therapist today. That is BetterHelp.com. HELP.com, or send an email to contact@betterhelp.com and get the help that you deserve. Now, you can experience these levels of depression one at a time, or you can experience several levels of depression collectively all at the same time for a short amount of time or a long period of time, also. But it's important to look at your behavior and your mood on an everyday basis and look at your environment. What parts of those areas increase your levels of depression? What activities do you participate in that may increase those levels? Psychotherapy is treatment for both mental and behavioral disorders through talk therapy and is usually accompanied with medication. Not to say that the other levels of therapy do not use medication, but psychotherapy especially works on your brain function and the way that your brain works. So, usually, medication is coupled with this level of therapy so that you can have the best outcome when dealing with severe depression. Now that we've talked about the different levels of therapy that you can experience, let's briefly go into medication. There are various levels of medication that you can take. So, these levels of medication that I will be discussing are things that I researched and I spoke with other people about and are not to be considered as something that I am telling you to start taking. And actually, all of them require you to be prescribed from a medical health professional. So we have the SSRIs. These medications ease symptoms of depression, mood, and anxiety by regulating your serotonin, which is a chemical in your brain that induces happiness. Another level of medication is antidepressants. These can treat depression and other chronic illnesses such as diabetic neuropathy, fibromyalgia, chronic muscle and bone pain, and in some cases, Parkinson's. There are also antipsychotic drugs, which reduces or improves certain psychotic or neurologic conditions, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and in some cases, also irritability associated with autism. In Western medicine, on the physical aspect of therapy for depression, in my research, I discovered that there was electroconclusive therapy, or ECT, which is also known as shock therapy. And I must tell you, in my research, when I saw shock therapy, along with other levels of this type of therapy, where you send shock waves or rhythmic pulses electronically through the brain and through the body, there was a certain level of discomfort that I felt, was a certain level of lower vibrational energy. So I must say, I do not want to exclude you guys from having all the information that you can have. However, in my spirit, the energy that I received from looking into this electromagnetic therapy and this shock therapy was not on a high vibrational level. If you know about this therapy or this level of therapy and you have taken this therapy, please leave a comment or send a note and let me know how you have benefited from it. But as I was researching, I just could not continue on because it was a very low vibrational energy that was related to it. So I didn't get a lot of information and I actually felt that it was cruel. It actually saddened me for a moment. So I discontinued research on shock therapy and electromagnetic pulse therapy, especially in researching and seeing that it caused seizures, headaches, negative things. I just discontinued that. But I do encourage you, if you are interested in the topic of electromagnetic therapy and shock therapy, definitely look into it. It is worth some understanding. Vibrationally, I just was not able to do it. There are so many avenues that you can take advantage of when dealing with depression, but one of the main things is reach out to someone. Let someone know, especially a mental health professional, that you are going through it, that you are having issues, and that you are feeling the way you're feeling. However, when you do seek professional help, you do not have to get on any medication. You should not have to take anything that you are not in agreement with, and you should not have to be physically subdued or apprehended in any way unless you are a harm to yourself and others. And I feel like it's important to say that because in a lot of situations, because you may be going through things and you might not basically be able to understand what is going on with you, it's hard to articulate what you're going through. It's hard to say and express how you're feeling. And you might say one thing or another, and it might be misconstrued totally in a different way. And especially dealing with mental health disorders and difficulties, please, y'all, have empathy, love, and compassion. Call a mental health hospital or some sort of outreach center when one of your loved ones or you yourself is going through mental health difficulties or disorders. Calling law enforcement or the police is not an effective way to address mental health difficulties. There are so many of our loved ones and our people that have lost their lives because someone decided to call the police or law enforcement instead of calling the local mental health departments. So please handle these situations in a by case basis and please handle them with care. Now, with joy, I come to this level of treatment when dealing with depression and various other levels of mental health difficulties and disorders. My favorite treatment that is near and dear to my heart is alternative medicine. Alternative medicine is not Western civilization medicine, and in most cases, it is natural and non abrasive. However, when dealing with alternative medicine, it is important that you decide what route that you want to take because although a lot of alternative medicine and options are natural, it normally does not coincide with Western medication or Western civilization forms of treatment. So you have to basically do one or the other. But if I would have to choose, I will pick alternative medicine any day of the week, anytime, any situation. And most often, it is in the best balance and rhythm of who we naturally are as human beings. It is not under the guise of doctors that have gone to school and practiced medicine. And that's why they say that doctors practice medicine because they're testing this on you and testing that on that and seeing and basically you're a science project. So alternative medicine is tried and true, although you do have to test and see which things work best for you. The side effects and the long-term effects are a lot healthier and less detrimental to your body in the long run. So let's talk about some alternative medicine options for depression. So if y'all don't know, let me just let y'all in on a little secret. I'm a little bruja a little bit. I be mixing in the kitchen. Like I'm always making potions. I call it potions because I'm always mixing up concoctions, whether it is to put on my body after a shower, whether it is what I'm drinking, making teas. I always put natural herbs and things in everything that I cook. So this is a part of my life and it is who I am. Once you start to practice alternative medicine, it just becomes a part of who you are. So I encourage you to pick up alternative medicine, pick up different books, pick up education that can help you discover different ways that alternative medicine can help you live optimally. So let's talk about some of the herbs that can assist you with depression, okay? I will speak on these herbs, and it is your job to look up these herbs. Only you know your medical condition and what your body can and cannot take. But also, another one of the positive things about alternative medicines is they usually help some of those negative conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. Normally, these help those conditions and don't work against them like regular Western medicine. So, some of the herbs that you can take that can help you, and some of these can be taken in tea form or capsule form, whatever you feel comfortable with, is John's wort, which is an herb, saffron, rhodelia, ashwagandha, maca root, rosemary, Sammy, and I won't even try to pronounce the actual spelling of the actual word, but the breakdown, or you can look at in the health food store, it is called SAME, SAM-E. Also look into amino acids, vitamin D, ginkgo biloba. Say that 3 times. Ginkgo biloba, ginkgo biloba. I can't do it. And creatine. These list of herbs can help regulate your body, boost your mood, and help with some of the neurological effects of depression. Also, another herb that may be able to help is hemp, marijuana, CBD. All of these things are pretty much derived from the same plant. However, there are different levels of the plant. CBD can be used and ingested and can help your mood, but it doesn't necessarily get you high. Whereas marijuana in itself definitely does. In my dibbling and dabbling back and forth over my course of life, I have experienced being a California Bay Area native that when I was partaking in marijuana, I preferred sativa blends. Sativa blends was more like a head high feeling, meaning when I took sativa, I would want to write, I would want to paint, I would want to do creative things, I would want to get out and walk versus me having an indica. I felt very heavy, very lethargic, very sleepy. So if you suffer from anxiety, indica is maybe something that you might want to check out. But for depression, I feel personally that sativa would be better for that condition. However, I was in California where it was legal and you got a card to consume marijuana. I am now in Georgia, and your ass will be in jail for a doobie. Just know that it's real. When I moved out here, it was like, it's not even worth it. Like, I'm not even going to play with my life. There has been legislation out here that has changed some of the rules, but unfortunately, marijuana is only legal in the city of Atlanta, not even in the whole state of Georgia, just in the city of Atlanta. So to me, that sounds like a setup. You can be in Atlanta the moment that you get out of the outskirts of Atlanta and you're somewhere else. You can be in the clinker for having any amount of marijuana on you or any paraphernalia, a grinder, blunt wrap, anything of that nature. So I just wouldn't risk it. So when dealing with that, food with CBD, because CBD is illegal or pretty much all areas as I know of, it's just not worth the risk of losing your life trying to balance your depression and other mental difficulty disorders, trying to get you a little smoke in, and now you're gonna be really stressed out because now you in jail. Another thing that I have dabbled with being also a California Bay Area native are shrooms or psilocybin, retard cancer cells, and have other different physical effects, while some help with neurological and psychological effects. Just as I said with the marijuana, try mushrooms at your own risk. But what I will say with mushrooms is that if you are paranoid, or you are experiencing low vibrational levels, mushrooms is something that you need not deal with. Only because certain strands of mushrooms only amplify how you already feel. So if you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling lonely, if you are having issues that you just have not been able to work through, if you are feeling suicidal, then mushrooms is not something that you would need to partake in because it will amplify how it is that you feel. It's to be taken once you have gained a certain level of balance and you are looking at your recovery and your treatment with optimism. You are already starting to do the work and you are pushing past the lower levels of depression. So, if you are just starting your journey on working through your depression, I do not suggest you try psilocybin. However, if you have gone well within the work of depression and other mental difficulty disorders, I would say to try it. But like I said, honor your state. I don't want you to say, I listened to the Mental Health, the New Wealth, and Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, told me to get on some shrooms and smoke some weed. So I don't want to be, responsible for that. But that is something that I do know that has helped myself and others. So let's get off the herbs, okay? Let's talk about some of the things that we can physically do to help with depression. Massage therapy is a major one. Get you a little rub down. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying get you a happy ending and all that, but get you a rub down. Get you a rub down. It'll calm down your anxiety, it'll calm down your paranoia and other emotions that come along with depression. I will also suggest some acupuncture. Acupuncture is an ancient alternative practice that can be used to help balance you, and it can also not only help balance the depression and the neurological effects of depression, it can also help you change the way that you think about certain things. It can help you with overeating, it can help your sleep. It can help you with so many other various things. Acupuncture is definitely something that you should look into. Also, you need to have a regular exercise routine. I think that I have spoke on exercise in every episode thus far because it is so important. Now, I'm not saying that you got to do Chai tea or P90X and all of that. I'm not saying to kill yourself. But what I'm saying is you do need something to stimulate and get out any negative energy that you may have and stimulate your endorphins so that you can have a better outlook on each day. And it's also a proven fact when you feel better, you do better. And a lot of times, when you are able to move around, when you are able to sweat, when you are able to get your body and your agility up, then you are able to feel a lot better on a regular, everyday basis. No matter how you get your exercise, whether you're a jogger, whether you're a swimmer, whether you just like walking, whether you like a great sexual experience to get that heart rate up, whatever it is, get your exercise in. But definitely be careful with that sexual situation. Be careful with that because with depression, you can use that as treatment and it can become an addiction. But the bottom line is everything in balance and moderation can definitely help you live your life optimally. It's also important for you to develop a routine. If you know that every day you wake up at a certain hour, you eat your breakfast, you go to work, you come back, you do different things. Once you know that you have a routine, then you would have less anxiety because you know what to expect out of your day. A lot of depression and a lot of people that experience anxiety induced depression experience it because something happens in their day that they're not prepared for or is too off from what they normally do. So if you know that you go to bed at 10 o'clock every day, it probably would not be a good idea for you to go to bed at 1 o'clock or skip any major thing that you do on a regular basis because it would kind of cause a glitch in your day and different triggers in your body in your everyday life. It's also important to set small goals so you can have levels of accomplishment. What I mean by this is just say, for instance, you have a pet, which also pets are very good if you are experiencing depression, especially dogs, because they love you. They love you so, so very much. So just say, for instance, you set a goal that you walk your dog a couple of times a day. This is something that you do it at certain times a day, and you don't miss this. This makes sure that you get out of the house and you accomplish something. You feel like I achieved something that I set out to do today. Also, you keep appointments for yourself. I scheduled a massage appointment. I scheduled an acupuncture appointment. These goals are set to help me to take care of myself and to amplify my self care and my self love for optimal living. Also, it's very important for you to eat healthy. There is no way around it. You are what you eat. So, if you're eating a lot of saturated fats, a lot of carbs, a lot of things that keep you heavy and lethargic, then it's going to be very hard for you to not be depressed. It's going to be very hard for you to keep optimal levels of energy. I recommended this once before. Check on this book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Based on your blood type, you should start to develop a diet that is best for you so that your body can function at the best level possible which means that you will have the best attitude, the best emotions possible, providing that everything else falls in line. But at least your body and the things that you eat won't be an issue. Another thing that you need to check on, which is the last episode that we just did, episode 4, which you should tap into, is get you some rest. Take your butt to bed. A lot of people that suffer from depression, anxiety, and other mental health difficulties and disorders have terrible sleeping habits. This can induce manic depression as well as other. Oh, I forgot about this one. Another thing that you can do is aromatherapy. They have so many different levels of aromatherapy. They have diffusers, they have different essential oils. You can use candles. You can have eucalyptus and different herbs in your bathroom or around your house. You can get a boiling pot that you can steam in your house. There are so many levels of aromatherapy, but I have discovered that when you smell calming smells and smells that make you feel comfortable, it helps you with your mental stability and your emotional mood swings. It is also important to avoid alcohol and other drugs. Now, I know we spoke about marijuana, okay, and mushrooms, but I spoke on those as a means for treatment. We're not using and abusing these things as crutches in order to not do the work. That is not what we're doing, okay? So if you are using anything as a crutch to not do your work or keep yourself in an altered state, that is not a good thing to do. So avoid all alcohol and other drugs. And if you do them, I'm not judging. That's your business. But just do it in very small increments in moderation. Another major important thing to do, y'all, is have fun. Don't take things so serious. Laugh sometimes, joke sometimes, yell for no reason. These are things that you can do to make sure that you continue to stay happy, healthy, and err on the side of balance with your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health. Usually, when dealing with depression, it is associated with lower level vibrations. So, when you deal with vibrations of love, laughter, happiness, joy, these are higher level vibrations that is not on the same frequency as depression. So if you are on a higher level, it is harder for you to be affected by the lower levels of depression because you're keeping yourself uplifted and upbeat. So have yourself some fun, be around others that love to have fun and healthy fun. Not fun at the expense of others, but healthy, happy, loving, compassionate fun. And try to laugh and smile as many times a day as you can. It is clinically proven to change your mood and improve your life in a dramatic way. Also, another great thing you can do while you are having fun, go outside, get you some Dr. Sun. Getting sun on a regular basis and that vitamin D in your body and in your system helps you to live your life optimally. I remember when the pandemic first happened and they were putting different mandates out and different regulations, and people were like, I'm not going outside. They said to stay inside. Okay, now they didn't tell you that you cannot go outside and collect natural sun. Okay, they did not tell you that. Soak up some sun, get some nature in your life. Listen to the birds, look at the different animals. Sit in solitude and just be in gratitude for being alive to be able to experience those pieces of nature. If you live in a city area, try to go to a park and just sit and soak in what nature has to. The bottom line in this whole episode is if you are suffering from depression or know someone who is, please get help. Get on a regular schedule with a mental health therapist so that you can get the help you need. We need to show up every day as our authentic self. I need you to be completely you so that I can continue to be completely me. We need those smiles. We need those jokes. We need your perspective. We need your personality. We need in this world everything that is authentically you. And I know it is hard because we all go through changes, we all are growing. and changing and maneuvering and learning and unlearning to relearn on a regular basis. But it is important that you are the best you that you can be so that you can be the best you that you can be for me, and vice versa. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know this was a very dense topic. I hope you don't feel like this episode was rushed. I tried to give you the most that I could about such a dense topic. I am in this effort with you as I also go through my different levels of depression, and we can do this. As we do the work, always remember your